Good morning, baseball. It is your boy NMR Sports here, coming back at you with another episode of Good Morning Baseball with my lovely co-host, Mr. Frank Helmstead. A round of applause. Woo! The crowd goes wild. The hundreds of people watching are applauding. I can assure you of that. Before we get into today's video, we talk about every single thing that happened yesterday in Major League Baseball. Not all of them, I should say, but, we hit on the major points. Before we get into today's video, don't forget to hit that like button down below, help it reach more baseball fans, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily MLB content. And without further ado, I believe Frank is going to lead us all in our daily MLB recap. What happened in baseball yesterday, Frank?
Well, first off, we got the Blue Jays and the White Sox, and they finally managed to swing a win in the series. So they won the game 9-5. We got the Astros and the Mets, and the Astros took the game 5-3. Seems like the Mets had a little bit of a harder time playing the American League West. We have the Rangers once again beating the Phillies 4-2. The Rangers are looking a little more legit these days, I gotta say. We had the Padres and the Diamondbacks. No surprise here. The Padres took that game 10-4. We got the Rockies and Marlins. The Marlins took this one 7-4. We got the Dodgers and Reds. Again, no surprise here. The Dodgers took that game 8-4 against the Reds. And then finally, the Cubs, after 2 games of being decimated by the Pirates, managed to do a little decimating themselves. Won that game.
All their games are double digits, man. Always putting up runs.
For sure, yeah. So they took that game 14-5. And then we got the Orioles and the Nationals. Seemingly a very boring game, but Austin Hayes hit for the cycle before the 6th inning. And the Orioles won this game 7-0. And then next up, we got the Yankees and Rays. And once again, a very close game. But who do you think won this one? The Yankees, 5-4. Red Sox and Tigers. Tigers lost 6-2 in this one. Moving on, we have the Braves and Giants. Another close game here. This whole series has been really fun to watch. This game was taken by the Braves, and they won 4-3. The Guardians, once again, they just keep winning, man. And they, against their division rivals, the Twins, won 11-10 in a very close and high-scoring game. And then we have the Cardinals and Brewers. The Cardinals took 2 out of 3 games in this series and put themselves in first place in the NL Central. The Mariners absolutely demolished the A's. Again, no surprise here, 9-0. And lastly, we got the Angels, who got a dub yesterday, 5-0 against the Royals. And that is it for our recap. Back to you, Nolan.
Yeah, man. So, lot to unpack there. A lot of good games around the game of baseball yesterday. But we got to lead off talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the man of the hour. I promise we'll stop talking about him when he stops being interesting. But Shohei Ohtani, man, what a show. I mean, obviously we're both Angels fans. We're going to love watching him. But the entire sport of baseball is rallying around this dude right now. Last night, he set a career high with 13 strikeouts in that one. A night after putting up 8 RBIs and 2 home runs in their losing effort against the Royals. Luckily, Shohei was on the mound for this one, so we actually had a chance. Angels pitched, I believe it's their 11th shutout of the season, tying them with the Mets and the Yankees for the most in baseball. It's kind of hard to believe that they're that many shutouts and are that bad of a baseball team. But we'll get to that. My question for you, man. Obviously, I feel like there's been a lot of talk about Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, maybe Rafael Devers, a lot of other guys. When it comes to the MVP conversation, I personally think it's Shohei's to lose. Would you agree with me in that statement? Do you think this is Shohei Ohtani's MVP to lose?
Yeah. Yes. I can elaborate a little. I mean, listen, this guy is, you have to remember, doing basically 2 jobs at once. I mean, that is his entire appeal. It's, a pitcher and hitter. But to go back-to-back games where you break your career high, I think he superseded Babe Ruth's amount of RBIs in a single game, which was 7, and hit 8 RBIs the night before last. And then last night, of course, Ohtani pitches a career high 13 strikeouts. So just that juxtaposition, we're using fancy words here. Just
There you
that,
go.
that comparison there of these two games back to back, just it seems like he's rubbing it in. Would you agree?
It's just I think flat out, and some people get in the comment section and they're a little pissed off about it. That, oh well, if Shohei just automatically wins the MVP every time he's good at both, then he's gonna win it every year. Yes, 100%. Yes. Should they maybe create a separate award for Shohei Ohtani to win every year so there actually is a chance to win another award? Because, in my opinion, if Shohei Ohtani stays healthy all year, he is the MVP, and there's no question about it. Honestly, all I need from Shohei is an ERA sub 4 ERA, 10 wins, 100 strikeouts, and 25 home runs, and he's the MVP every year. It just helps that right now, 2.9 ERA on the season. I think he hit his 17th home run the other night. Where are we at? So 68 innings pitched this year, already at 90 strikeouts. We're not even at the All-Star break. 12 games started, 2.9 ERA, 6-4 win-loss record. And that's just talking about his pitching, not to mention that this guy also, dude's got 15 home runs on top of that. He's got 489 slugging percentage, 331 on base, 130 WRC plus. So he's 30% better than league average when it comes to hitting. And he's also one of the best and most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. I will say the only thing I could only critique, and this is a very light critique on Shohei, is offensively I'd like to see him strike out a little bit less. Pitching wise, I would like to see him be a little more consistent, His bad starts are really bad. But his good starts, man. His good starts can compare with anybody. They can compare with Jacob deGrom. But his bad starts are really bad. So a little more consistency from him, and I think he could go down as one of the greatest players in MLB history. He's already one of the most talented, but yeah, we'll have to see, man.
For sure.
Dominant performance from him. In other news, staying on the West Coast, the Padres, National League West. Padres swept the Diamondbacks. Not too big of a story, but they did it without Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. So my question, this is a Padres team that was poised to possibly win the World Series last year, challenge the Dodgers for the NL West. We all know what happened last year. They were fully healthy for the most part, and they just completely fell apart down the stretch. Is this team vulnerable to that same fate, or are you more convinced that this team is real, this team is able to win ball games, they're able to scrape runs together, they're able to pitch better? Do you think this team is built different than last year's San Diego Padres?
Well, all of those things you mentioned before and more, actually, upon researching this, Bob Melvin, also their manager, has been out until I think yesterday, the 10-day COVID IL as well. So they're doing this under different management as well. So, I definitely think that there is something special here, and whether or not that's enough to take the West, that's just something we're going to have to see. But I think it's ultimately also determined by the Dodgers' success. And while they're holding their own here, again, I have to say this again. The Dodgers are a great team. They're certainly better than my favorite team, and I will never say that they aren't. But I do think, looking at this Dodgers squad, I think they would be a little better. And so all of that to say, I think that is a vulnerable spot, and the Padres definitely have a chance to push up and continue to stay up in this division. And again, we'll just have to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a video recently of Tatis taking some swings in a batting cage. So Tatis is on his way back. Machado allegedly isn't going to be out for too long. So, man, if this team plays like they are right now with Tatis and Machado, there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling for this. The only thing I think agree. Yeah, the only thing I think I could get in the way with them right here is going to be our next topic of conversation. The Astros and the Mets we're playing right now. The Mets have been one of the better teams in the National League, possibly the best team in the National League, depending on who you ask. They've been playing like it. They've had some injuries and whatnot, but they have been made to look like not much of a challenge for the Astros the last 2 days. Astros, not necessarily the best team in the American League, but one of the better teams for sure. The Mets really haven't had a challenging task from the American League yet this season. Is the National League a much weaker league than the American League? Is the American League competition at a higher level than the National League in your opinion, or do you think it's about the same?
Um, I
Very
think
small.
it's comparable, but the peaks of the American League are so much higher than the National League peaks. Like the National League is a much more well-rounded league, in my opinion. I think like with the Yankees, the division leaders in the AL East, the Astros, the division leaders in the AL West. These peaks that you see with like these wide margins of the second place team being 10, 12 games out of first place, that is way larger than what you see in National League divisions. And so I think like the heights in which the American League reaches are a lot higher. But I think if you look at like a general overlook of the leagues, I think that the Mets could definitely be competitive with a lot of these teams in the American League. But perhaps it's just because they're playing the Astros, which is a really good squad. I don't know. What are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree actually, pretty much exactly. I think you hit the nail right on the head. The the Astros and the Yankees, I think, would be the two exceptions. Outside of those two teams, I really don't think there's a big competitive gap between the top of the
Yeah,
National and the top of the AL. But those two teams, man, those two teams look just out of this world right now.
so far ahead.
Borderline unbeatable. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see how it shakes out in the postseason. That'll be very interesting to see. But speaking of American League teams, I believe you have an American League topic.
Oh yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier on the Orioles Nationals game, a seemingly boring game. Two of the I won't say worst, but not as good teams of
Worst.
baseball playing each other.
Yeah.
Austin Hayes hits for the cycle before the sixth inning, and so I guess my question is you look at this Orioles squad, they got a lot of young guys on this team. Do you think that they have the potential in the next few years to be competitive with these young guys?
I think it's pretty interesting. The AL East obviously is a very tough division to play in. But I will say, when I look around the AL East, I feel like as far as each team and which stage of their rebuild they're in, Yankees are towards the end of a. No, I feel like they're sort of at the middle to the end of their rebuild. Their core is getting a little bit up there in age, but they're kind of in their prime right now. You got the Blue Jays, who are up and coming. They have some pretty young guys, but they're all major league caliber ready. I feel like the Orioles are a little bit of a step back of that, and I think come I give it 3 years, 3 years or so till they're
Mhm.
competing for this division again. Grayson Rodriguez, stud, phenomenal pitcher. I think it's what's that dude's name? I think it's Heston Kjerstad, something like that. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure I didn't butcher that at all. Yeah, Heston Kjerstad. Uh, that dude is a phenomenal prospect. They already called up Adley Rushman. Cedric Mullins has been a beast for them. I'm really hoping they re-sign Trey Mancini, but it looks like they're going to trade him at the trade deadline. I do think, and then who's that first baseman they have too? Can't remember for the Ryan Mountcastle. That's who we're talking about.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they've got a very good young core. I agree, and arguably the best young core in the American League when it comes to prospect, at least prospect caliber wise. It just depends on whether those prospects are able to come to fruition, or if they're all going to be Joe Adells and Jared Kelnicks of the world. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah, it's only
Yeah.
time will tell, but I would say they're in a good position to run the AL East in 3 to 4 years.
Well, that's a. I'm inclined to agree with you, but that's looking at it now is seemingly a
Oh,
very
yeah,
bold take. You look at these Yankees
we're
right now, but
we're
things
going to be
change
talking
really
about the
quick.
Orioles and the Pirates being the powerhouses of their respective leagues. Can't wait.
Who knows, man? That could be exciting. So I look forward to that potential.
Yeah, it's been a minute since either one of them have been competitive, so it'll be fun for those fans. I mean, rebuilding's never fun, but I think this is a fun stage of the rebuild where you start to see your young guys and start to fall in love with these players that you're gonna be around your franchise hopefully for the next 5-10 years. So good looking out. I'm very excited for the future of this Orioles franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do got two. Sorry, I think Only one more game I'm looking to talk about. Heading back over to the AL West. A lot of stories coming out of there. The Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers of all teams. Looked like one of the worst teams in baseball to start the year. I'm not going to lie. We were kind of laughing at them. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien got off to one of the slowest starts of the year. We knew their pitching was going to be a problem, and it was. But the Rangers, as of late, man, they have been on fire, including taking 2 in a row against the Phillies. They had a pretty good series against the Phillies earlier on in the year as well. The Rangers are in a pretty weak division right now. We know the Angels are struggling, we know the Mariners are struggling, and we know the A's are possibly the worst team in baseball. Are the Rangers going to be able to beat up on these weak opponents and possibly make a push for the wild card? I still think, they might have a few holes in their pitching staff, but what do you think? Is this a competitive team that we're looking at here?
I think if you were looking at the AL West and you see the Rangers and the wild card race is just second place in this division, I think that's absolutely feasible. But to see them, push for a wild card spot beyond that, I'm still kind of unsure because, like you said, they're in a pretty weak division right now. With the way the Angels have been performing in a large scale. The way the Mariners have been falling behind, and obviously the A's have not been performing well at all. It's definitely a second place team in my opinion at this current time and this trajectory. I could see them in second. But in terms of a wild card push, I just think there's so many other squads that are kind of more likely to do so, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. It's tough, but I mean, I definitely think they're playing really well at this current time.
Yeah, not really a team I'd want to run into at this point, but I think they're somewhere in between the two teams we've seen this year. We saw a really bad team to start the year. I think they're a little better than that, but we've also seen a very good team as of late. I don't think they're necessarily that good. Kind of where their record's at right now, slightly below 500. That's about where I see them finishing the season. I think their ceiling's probably somewhere in the 3 to 5 games over 500, and on the outside looking in of a third wild card spot there. So. They do have a bright future, though. That's the one team I forgot to talk about with the Orioles. The Rangers, man. The Rangers have a very bright future. They drafted Jack Leiter last year. They still got, I believe it's Josh Jung in the minor leagues. That dude, top third base prospect. That guy's going to be a stud. They already called up Sam Huff. A lot of big names going to be there in Texas, and they've already shown they're willing to spend some money, so they'll probably add some via free agency as well. The Rangers could be the team to beat in the AL West in a few years because it doesn't look like the Mariners or the Angels are going to do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Doesn't seem that way.
Yeah. Well, even though there were a lot of games last night, not particularly a whole lot to talk about, I think that's going to do it for us today. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video down below. Let us know down in the comments your thoughts on the topics that we talk about today. Is Shohei Ohtani en route of another unanimous AL MVP award? Are the Rangers going to be a possible playoff team? Do the Orioles have the brightest future in the AL East? We want to know your thoughts, so be sure to comment them down below. Frank and I will be responding to them all day tomorrow, so I appreciate each and every one of you guys watching this. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily MLB content and daily Good Morning Baseball. You've been great. I appreciate you guys. I will see you all in the next one.